I think so. I think so. I just have to see what's going on.
Okay, folks, so we are live.
Oh, wait a minute, is that the 23rd? The 23rd? 25th. Oh, I need my hair cutting. That's one thing. You see, it's no, I've been on trip. I haven't cut my hair. Right?
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the August Bicycle, Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with our roll call. I am Ed Holland, Chair.
Angela Hay.
Caroline Vertonghen.
Okay. Pat, if you push the button on your microphone just to switch it on. Thank you. I don't see anybody joined online just yet. If anybody is listening in, we don't see you. Apologies for the late start of the meeting. And the next item on our agenda would be a call for oral communications for any items that are not included in the printed agenda. So if anybody has anything, please raise a hand and go ahead. Caroline, I see you have something to say.
Yes, I wanted to thank Angela and Kevin for putting up the flags. I think that was a great accomplishment. Thank you on behalf of all the residents.
We still have a few more to do, but I've seen them.
No, that's great. I mean, I think the only thing with the flags is they can all end up on one side or the other,
That's
depending,
right.
but that's just the nature of, well, unless we have an automatic flag returning system, I don't see what else we can do, but it's a great step forward.
We
I think
get
that-
residents who live nearby. Move them in. Okay.
Yep, thank you for that.
I had one more comment.
Please go ahead.
So finally, they put the sheriff's contract on the website. Of course, I had hoped that Kevin was here because it says it was, it's a contract until June this year, but then there's some extension until May next year. I wanted to know what the details were, but there's definitely some services that we should discuss. And I don't know if we ever will have the authority or the ability to comment on that. And I hope so.
If there's specific traffic related things there, we could put that on the agenda for another time. But if you'd like to do that, and let me know.
Let me talk to Kevin first and see.
Yes.
I want to know what his purview is.
Kevin is the official title, I believe, is Sheriff's Commissioner,
That's right.
and I'm acting Assistant Sheriff's
Mhm.
Commissioner. Those appointments have been made now.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else for items not on the agenda or another public comment? Nope, thank you. Then we come on to item 3, which is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was June 5th, 2023. Caroline, thank you for sending those. Does anyone any comment on the meeting before I propose that we accept them?
Except for the correction, 24 instead of 23.
That's my bad. I will correct that. Thank you. So I move that we approve the minutes from our June 5th, 2024 meeting. I'm in
Second.
favor.
I second that.
Okay, and a show of hands in favor.
In favor.
Thank you. Carried unanimously. Our item 4 would be a sheriff's report, but I have not received any traffic citation or report for the last 2 months, and the sheriff's office is not represented today at the meeting. So I'll have to have a word with Matthew Fox and with Patrick Taylor to see what they're about. I know it's vacation season, but to not receive anything at all is unfortunate. They set a good precedent at our last meeting, having everything in time for the agenda, which was good. And I thought that was an understanding, but obviously something's lapsed. So we don't have any data to review.
But that's part of the contract. You know, they have 2 deputies for us during the day, 2 during the night. And in my opinion, it should list, it's shared with Woodside. And then when it comes to the community officers, that's shared with the whole district.
Yes.
So that's why when we get these reports, we have noted and we have commented on them and said, hey, there's only a few days of the month that you list them. And that's why. So in my opinion, it should be worded differently. And if Woodside is paying the same amount as we are paying, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think there'll be one thing to say, I'd like to see that distinguish, if I may jump in, that there are two officers assigned daytime and nighttime, but what is actually present on patrol should also be made clear, because people say, oh, there are two guys assigned to your district. That doesn't mean there are two people patrolling the town at all times. Those don't add up to the same thing.
Exactly.
Patrick did make that clear before, but it isn't reflected in what you might read into the contract. So that would be helpful if that was spelled out. Where is the contract on the town website?
It's on the website, and I forget, I think government, and then there is a sheriff's department.
Oh, right. Thank you. I'll look for it.
Yeah.
That's something I need to know if somebody asks me about it.
And I think that Captain Fox agreed that he would actually share the names of the deputies.
I can reach to him directly. I
Yeah.
have his contact details, so I'll ask
And we
that.
can, because I said, if we have just a regular dispatch number, that takes forever to get a hold of him. There should be some local numbers that we can dial, and then we
Yeah.
have direct service.
Thank you, Caroline. I wonder if the Patrick Taylor is not here, Sergeant Taylor is not attending today. Presumably, he needs some sort of reminder that our meeting is taking place. It's not his job to keep track of our town calendar, and I wonder if that's slipped somewhere with town, or if Kevin and I should take that on as a.
I think the town should send out the agenda.
So do I, but we know that the town's availability to things like that has been changed or limited,
Diego is,
depending on the resources available. So
yeah,
yeah.
Diego is in charge of it, so.
Yeah. I don't want to throw out any criticisms of anybody, but people are coming in new, they don't know the systems, they don't know what's involved in each meeting, and so there's a big change in who knows what.
Mhm.
And obviously we've lost Howard as well, who I think would also probably have reached out, so. Okay, that concludes the sheriff's report. I will send an email to Patrick Taylor and ask him for reports and send those on to you, Caroline, so they can be included in the next package.
I have a
Thank you,
comment.
everybody. Christy, we
Hello.
don't have much by way of viewing who is online. Please go ahead. So I can't see you, I can't see hands, and I don't see online participants.
Yeah, I actually don't even know how to raise my hand here. Do you want to describe how to do that? I mean, under chat.
If I could tell
Oh,
you, I would,
yeah.
but I don't have any information. Please just go ahead.
Okay, I have to say I'm disappointed not to have the sheriff report, not to have the sheriff present, or to have a staff member present. So if Howard is not here, who is representing, who is the ears from the staff listening, who is the ears from the council listening? They have to send somebody a staff member. So I'm just so disappointed. I've been asking for reports on these meetings for a long time. We were making some progress and now we have nothing again. So maybe you could get that written into the sheriff contract that they attend every BPTS meeting. I don't think it's too much to ask. So, I can contact Captain Fox. So my question for you is, can the chair contact the sheriff each time because we have Howard has left? I'm wondering if we can reach out and make sure he's invited.
Thank you. I think you've hit on something we were already touching on there, Christy, but that is probably what we will have to do now that we are either town staff's remit has changed or they are unable to do that.
And
But
can
either
we
between-
ask that a staff member also attend since we don't have Howard?
I will ask. I think the town manager ought to be here if Howard is not available, or a representative for Public Works. I think that the senior town staff ought to be more aware, especially of what the Brown Act committees are doing. I will make that also make that request. With regard to attending the meetings, I can reach Patrick Taylor, or I will ask Kevin Welsh to do that as well, as he is the sheriff's commissioner. So between us, I think we can make sure that that happens more reliably in the future. But thank you for your comment. How, Caroline, you have a follow-up?
Well, I appreciate your comment that you feel that the town manager should be here, and I have stated that once before. The handbook specifically says nothing can be move forward without the town manager's approval. So he has never attended any of our meetings. I attend several other meetings and I never see him present. He might be online, but there's never a comment. He's never mentioned. So I feel that should be corrected.
Okay, thank you. I have now managed to start the other system, which tells me who are the participants online. So at least I've got that. Thank you, everybody who is there. I see Christy there. I see a phone number, and I see Rita Gomez. If there are no further comments about the sheriff's report activity or lack of attendance, I'd like to move on to our item 5, which would normally be our public works update, but since we have no representative from Public Works, I know there is still only an interim manager for Public Works. I don't know their name and I don't know if they would be available to the meeting. So there's nothing to say there. We're rather falling apart here. So with your permission, I'd like to move on to item 6, which is our ongoing committee business. Item A, thank you both, Caroline and Angela, for sending draft notes for a letter of recommendation regarding town providing a letter of support for the bikeway proposition made by Ted Selker and his organization that is intending to improve facilities all the way along the Skyline corridor, and I believe also cities on the eastern side of Santa Cruz Mountains where their approach can be made. I don't have much more to say about that. I have read both your letters. I think they're well worded. Need to make a choice of that. You know, I haven't maybe work together to combine those or pick one or see how it goes. But perhaps you'd each like to outline what you'd put in the in the two documents.
Well, I honestly can't remember, but I do think what I said was that the bike committee supported Ted's plan to put bike lanes on Skyline Drive. I will say that looking at the Skyline Drive, I think engineering it's going to be very difficult, and that that maybe an alternative would be a paved trail through some of the open space that's on either side, because you've got some narrow areas on the Skyline Drive where the engineering to put in a bike lane would be very expensive. I also think that there's some low-hanging fruit, and one piece of low-hanging fruit is Portola Road between 84 and Sand Hill. That's probably Woodside's jurisdiction.
That is, unfortunately, yeah.
And actually, there's no bike lane going away from Sand Hill when you turn left at the fork. There's a little bit of a bike lane coming back on the new bridge.
Yeah, it's very narrow there, all through.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a real corridor that is used far more than Skyline, I think. So I think there's some little places that could be connected quite easily.
I do have it. So I saw, I don't know the trail itself, but Mid-Penn sent out this big flyer that they opened Alpine Trail.
Right, through Alpine.
To Skyline.
Yeah.
So in my letter, I was trying to say that we should have a collaborative approach and all stakeholders should be involved instead of, us spending $5,000 to CCAG. We don't know how much the Department of Education gets for the safe routes, but they do get money. And unfortunately, we didn't have the participation of our public schools, which I hope that the town, once we have that letter, will put efforts in the part of our community. They cannot come back and say, oh, we don't need it. We have physical, what is it called? Our PE has classes for kids to work on their balance on bikes. Well, this is not what we're trying to do. We're trying to revive our safe routes to school through education and have actually more families take their bikes and feel comfortable. Even the elderly, you know. I mentioned in the report, there is the grand jury came out, and that's what they said. You know, we have less bikers on the road because they're not safe. And everybody is confirming the same problem. It's speedy cars. So as long as we were not going to control that or do something, and hopefully we can address it to the alternative infrastructure, perhaps speed bumps, or not speed bumps, but, you know, roundabouts will slow down traffic. It's something we have to talk about, but the problem that everybody agrees with is that we have, the cars are speeding.
It's number one thing. Yeah.
No.
No, thank you for your comments. I think a good path forward, not to delay on this too much longer, would be I would invite Caroline and Angela just to combine your document. And I think we understand the wording and the intent that you have. With the agreement of the committee, if I could then review that and pass that straight to town once you've completed.
Yes.
If we have the agreement of the committee to take that path forward. Or if
Sure.
you'd like
Caroline,
to.
Caroline and I could just work on the letter. There was one comment I had on Caroline's, which was that Portola Valley takes the leadership on these things. And I think whoever has the jurisdiction for the road, like Caltrans has to take the leadership on their road. We can only take the leadership on our roads and on our territory.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to say that we're supporting it, but it's not for us to manage.
I think at this stage.
No, but that's what Ted asked for.
Yeah, but
And
he's not
culture-
getting it. He's not getting it.
Why not?
He's been here before asking it years ago.
Yeah.
You don't know the history.
Oh, well,
but-
that's why. Thank you for telling me. But we have a new town council, so perhaps Mary was very in favor of it. So it's
Caltrans is involved, they'll be in charge. It's just, we only get our jurisdiction, we would never want anything further than the Portola Valley home.
He is looking for someone to run his project, but it's not our job.
No, and I think speaking sort of partly to that and partly a side issue is the point here is not to discuss any technical details, just to say that we support the idea that what they propose should be given much more consideration by the counties and by the towns. Let the towns support the idea that to improve safety should allow some private investment or private support. It's basically as simple as that. We don't need to, at this stage, worry about which jurisdiction is which, how to design a bike lane, whether it should be a trail, or any of those things. We just get the fundamental idea accepted that somebody's willing to help. There ought to be a path for that to go forwards.
Yeah,
Have I summed that up correctly? Please tell me if you
that's right.
disagree.
No,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. That's why they're just looking for a letter of support. So if they're looking at funders or grants or anything like that, they have the letters of support.
Great. Yep. Thank you. And I think once you do that, you combine what you have. I'll give it a one last look over and circulate to the whole committee. And then we can pass that on to the town, because we've agreed that we're going to do this and send this letter of recommendation already. So
Yeah.
I don't want to delay through another whole meeting cycle. And all
appreciate
the,
that.
if
And
we
there are
don't have to.
Two hands up.
Just a moment. Yes, thank you. I'm coming back to you. I think I saw Christy was first, and then I'll come on to you, Rita.
Yeah, I am noticing that Caltrans distributes safe routes funding from the Federal Highway Administration. The California state budget provides roughly an equal amount of funding for the state's own Safe Routes to School program. Funds are distributed in the form of grants. So what has our town historically done as far as this?
Typically, we haven't applied. So there was some concern at the CCAG bicycle committee that Portola Valley and Woodside typically hadn't applied for several grants. This is not just Safe Routes to School, but these were bicycle infrastructure grants and things like that. And the reason they hadn't applied is that because of the criteria for selection, we would not get selected because the kinds of things that are needed, are you near a transit hub? You know, are you a low-income area? And these areas are shaded on maps and things, and we don't fall into the things. So the chances of us getting a grant are very low. However, there are considerations, and I think we have not been as diligent as we might have been in looking for grants.
Yeah, I mean, the program for the SRTS program started in 1997. So I don't give up on trying to get a grant because we are the smallest town in San Mateo County. And sometimes they need to look at our town a bit differently, that we are not urban with many lanes on our streets, but we still have a need for bike safety and children and people being able to ride safely. So I think, you know, they'll have to take that into consideration, that we still need services too. Thank you.
Years ago, we had a Safe Routes to School grant via the county, and that was in partnership with Redwood City. There was a member of our committee who both was active on this committee and in the school district in Redwood City.
Yeah.
She wrote the grant. We were able to participate in that grant. That was a very unusual partnership that existed. And if we could, once again, do something like that with the county, we would have a much better chance of finding success.
Yeah, I agree. We had you're talking about Carrie Rose, who
Yes.
served on the
Yes.
committee for 3 years, I think it was.
Exactly.
And she was the absolute go-to person and very active in pursuing what she was representing in Safe Routes. So,
Right.
And
right.
didn't we have a grant? We were going to split a grant writer with Woodside, and what happened to that position? I feel that it's very important because it gets us the funds we need.
I'm not sure where we stand on that. I could attempt to ask the town manager.
Yeah, I
We'll see
just
where we go.
appreciate staff here. I feel like we're paying
Yeah.
paying for these answers and we're not getting them.
Perhaps. One more comment before I'd like to move on to Rita, which is, you, Pat, I think you touched on something interesting, and Rita also. There is state money. Typically, we've gone through the county for these grants. I don't know if there are alternative paths or if the money has to trickle through a specific. It trickles. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's
trickles.
$5 billion.
It trickles through the county. That's how we get it sort of goes to the either CCAG or Association of Bay Area Governments, and then it comes through the county. And
Yeah.
there are lots of county subcommittees, just like there are in Portola Valley, who review different grants. And so that's how we do it.
And that comes back to our other issue, which we had previously this year, which was how we qualify and whether we have the local roadway safety plan and all of those things.
Yeah.
So they make specific hoops
Yeah.
for qualification.
It does
for-
say here that there's $3 billion still available in the future for funding rounds.
Okay, well, we
Yeah,
take some of that.
we have to look at what San Mateo County has, whether it, you know, there is money, and some towns, for example, Pacifica is very strong in writing all the time. They're always getting grants, and San Carlos, I think, had to give a grant back because they had no way to implement it, and then Pacifica could take it up. So there is money around.
Well, I think Helen Walters went over to sustainability and she's writing grants for for
Yeah.
Half Bay possibly, and she's also on the Democratic Central Committee. So, and she lives in Portola Valley, so maybe we
Hey.
could tap into her for help.
Well, yeah, join our committee and come and write the grant.
Okay, thank you. Rita, you still have a hand up? Thank you for being patient.
Thank you. At a previous meeting, Howard stated that our town attorney said that we don't have to do safe routes to school. And I appreciate the pushback that came from this committee and from the residents when he had said that. And so it doesn't sound like the town is following up. And of course, since our town's finances have not been closed since 2020 and our audits haven't been done since 2020, we don't actually have the due diligence paperwork to follow up on submitting any of these grants, which is a shame for a town this size, but I digress. For Ted's proposal, Ted already has the funding. This is for those bike things. And I appreciate what you had said, Ed, about he's just looking for a letter of support from a particular town. The who, what, and why has already been researched, but it's that project is fully funded. Just looking for a letter of support from different towns. So if anyone has ideas on how things can be done a little different, I think Ted would be open for somebody to join their little group. And unfortunately, he was unable to hire Howard, who would have been a great person to lead that group. But they are actively looking for a full-time employee to lead that group, not looking for this particular committee to do it, just looking for a letter of support. But thanks for all the ideas. But we can't submit for grants or anything because we don't have the finances. We've had a town manager in that spot for over a year, and we still do not have these closed-end books or the audits. Thanks.
Thank you, Rita. I think we all echo your frustration with that particular situation of affairs. We actually have grant money allotted to us for completing some roadway projects that I am hopeful will be completed this year before the grant runs out. But I'm now without Howard as point man. I don't know whether that is going to be pursued. Howard did try and assure us that he would leave Paul Krupka in charge of making sure those projects would get put forward, but I don't know where we are on that, and I would have to reach out to him to learn more. So it's quite concerning that these things are falling apart, and we actually may lose money that we've already been allocated.
So I made a comment at the last town council because our consultant, Mr. Krupka, has again $5,000. We have not seen any plans. Like I said, the crosswalks have been on the agenda, have not been published for the public. This is now over a year, and he continues to bill. We have over 100,000, if it's not 120,000, that we spent on his consulting. And except for just maintaining and perhaps improving the crosswalks, I have not seen anything done with that money. And again, this is the job of a town manager to inform us, to say where we stand. Before Mr. Young left, he could not give me an update on the safe routes to school or the trails, but he did say that the previous manager did not allow him to look into the flashing lights that we still have on our Portola Road near Woodside Priory to see if that could be activated. So that's all the information I have, but we need to see the specifics of that grant and see there's flexibility with that money. And all we heard from Mr. Young is that he was able to extend it until November. So November is the deadline to.
That's right. That's right. The grant is at risk.
And that's very concerning because there was effort went into that, a lot of planning, both by committee members here, by Mr. Young himself.
What can we do about it? Is there any action?
Yeah, I will certainly take the action to follow up with the town manager.
Who's managing Paul Krupka at the moment?
That's a very good question. I do not know.
It seems like that the town manager is, maybe they're not aware of how close we are to losing the money. I think they let this slide be.
Well, we can send them an email and saying, it's not the first time I went to the town council where he's sitting there and I'm asking that he comes and sits in our meetings.
Please excuse me while I take some notes on this. So I
Sure, no
think we had some other actions for me on Lloyd.
There's someone from the town that's supposed to be at every meeting, right? For all
Yeah, I
the
mean-
different meetings. Are they showing up for the other committee meetings?
Mm-mm.
I do not believe so.
We have the
Well, there's
town
some kind of
liaison.
communication for a while.
It's been going on for a while. But the other concern, not concern, but comment I would like to make, in the past, we were told that staff and the manager and the mayor and vice mayor are meeting with staff so often. And I thought it was every Monday or perhaps every other Monday, but I don't know where we stand. Again, that's valuable information that should be related to our committee, so we know how to better move forward.
Okay, so I've just written myself 4 action items, which is something I don't like to do. This is to follow up with the town manager to ask, who will be attending these meetings to represent town staff. Who organizes the invitation for the sheriff to attend our meeting? What is the current status of the crosswalk grant and any risk of expiry before the work is completed?
And mentioning that it's November,
And who is managing our traffic consultant, Paul Krupke, to see that he is looking after those, any of those previous interests?
perhaps you can mention that we have not seen any of his work since May and that we made comments on those plans.
Is he
No.
on a retainer? Is that the thing that he's
I think
paid-
that
paid-
may be the case.
paid
I-
every
I
month
want-
and
I want-
nobody's
I
noticing
can't confirm
the
that
money's-
definitely, but I have heard Howard Hughes knows that in the past.
Yeah.
I think yeah.
If I make a suggestion, if you perhaps can copy Mary Hefty on it, she's our town liaison member. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
Does the town liaison manager change now?
It may change after the election.
Okay.
I think whoever is the incumbent has the option
I
to.
wasn't sure if it was on the calendar year or the academic year when it changed. It usually changes.
I thought it was on the election cycle, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I'll ask Mary. I have not received any notification that our liaison has changed.
Okay.
All right, thank you for bearing with us while we reorganize ourselves there, but I think we're touching on some important points. So thank you. Moving on our regular committee business.
Excuse me, I had a comment.
I beg your pardon, go ahead, Christy.
I just wanted to thank you for putting up the flags at the 2 crosswalks that actually go to the middle school and go to alpine swim and tennis. It was a very hot day. You were out there putting them up. I really appreciate it, and I use them, and my husband and I use them daily. So at least we made a step. And I know it was a lot of work, but thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I have to say. And I'm concerned that we're going to lose this grant for the blinking lights if this date, and I didn't hear, I heard something about November, but if a date passes, 2-3 years out, you probably do lose a grant. So I want to keep this grant.
Well, it doesn't just lose a grant. It actually makes us look bad when we apply for a new one because they
Yeah,
say,
absolutely.
that, oh, Portola Valley couldn't implement the grant, so we won't give them one.
Oh my, okay. So yeah, we need some answers here, and I'd appreciate maybe Sharif could follow up on this at a town council meeting since he wasn't here and we can get some answers at that meeting rather than wait another month. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy, I have already agreed to take those actions and follow up, so I will do that.
Thank you.
Further on our ongoing committee business, I did add an item. Some of these are standing items. If there's any update on the local roadway safety plan,
I've been out.
I know
So,
you've been away,
yeah.
so we can bring that up for next time.
On the safe routes to school, I hope to,
So item
Attend-
C,
I hope to attend the school board meeting. I think that's August 25th
okay,
to please,
yeah,
we
but
will see.
ask if they can have some sort of official representative for safe routes. So that's the key thing that we need from them is a point person with the school district. So then we can have a town person, a schools person, get the sheriff involved, perhaps as a supporter, and I think that we may then need one more.
Well,
representative.
that's the whole problem because the school has a 45 or it's even longer page of public safety. It's something that they're required to do, but there's no coordination again. And I heard from Captain Fox, they don't have an agreement with them. We also know that, for instance, and sorry that I'm jumping, but that brought something else up. So now it's coming back in on the Hawthorns property, but the school is using the Woodside Patrol, that private little company, to have somebody there in the afternoon. It's a half an hour to help the kids cross the intersection of Alpine and Portola Road. Unfortunately, they don't want to disclose anything. The town has not allowed to see if there's an agreement and the school is not. So a lack of communication and this has to be solved. You know, you don't go anywhere if nobody wants to talk and nobody wants to come up with a solution. So that's my plan, to go to the
Good.
school board meeting.
Thank you. If you
Mhm.
would like any support with that, I do know 2 other members of the school board, so I can prompt them with some questions too, or some expectation.
Are you talking about who sits at the trail?
Gary Hanning, and
Yeah.
also, but my neighbor is on the school board too,
Great.
and I can speak with him.
That
So if
would
you
be
do
great.
want support with that, let me know, so it can be in a timely fashion for your questions directly to them.
Great, thank you.
Not at all. Okay, item D is the changes we had proposed to Windy Hill parking restrictions, which Howard had all the signs and everything ready. I suspect we should just get some shovels and do it ourselves.
Yeah,
Well, jokes aside, I don't know. There seems to be a 0 chance of anything happening on this right now. We have 2 guys in Public Works who are already run off their feet with other duties and nobody to plan the work or communicate this to them. So I don't know. That's something else I can also follow up with our traffic consultant if we can get that management structure in process, because it's obviously not for me to tell people what to do. We're not an executive committee, but we should be asking about things that were in the plan to be done. So it is somebody's job
yeah,
to make
because
sure
that
this
is
gets
where
done.
Paul Crook spent a lot of work, and Ed and I went round with him looking at places for parking. And we got as far as the red paint on Willowbrook, but there were other things like where there had to be signs and so forth. We went all through that with him.
We had this all done 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Signs are there.
3
And they
years,
just
and
need
I think the proposal is to add 2 or 3 more signs to restrict parking around the corner where it's obvious, there's an obvious concern over sight lines.
But here's the money. We have NV5 that gets money to draw his plans. He gets money to, we would like to know what he does. And then there is another fund in the town that is dedicated to the signs. And nobody knows, of course, we don't have money, so,
so we have the signs. We have them already.
yeah, we have the
purchased.
signs.
Do we have the posts? Oh,
We
that's
have
my
the
joke,
posts.
I
sorry.
have no idea. We just need the quickcrete or something.
Yes.
Really, we need some.
Okay.
concrete.
This is something else I can follow up, because
What a joke.
these things are easy, and yet we can't see any progress with them, and I understand why it's frustrating. So. Okay, let's move along. We do have item E, which is any further concerns over Alpine and Golden Oak and parking surrounding the Alpine Inn? But I don't,
What is, there's a kind of digger kind of thing and a hole in the fence at Alpine Inn on Alpine Road.
good question. I don't know. I saw that too.
For?
No, no.
But it has to do with the previous work. Was it PG&E who, or was it for cold water?
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's some utility work that had to be done near there.
So I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Okay. So it wasn't making an entrance onto Alpine Road.
No.
No, not yet.
No, no.
That's too easy.
Okay. No. Okay. So, so Alpine Inn have put signs, no parking on Arastradero Road, right? And I don't know if that's had any impact on Golden Oak.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I've been away.
I've been away
I don't
too.
think there's been much parking on Golden Oak
Yeah,
for a
No,
while.
yeah, no.
It's been
It's been
clear
clear.
and they put up a fence on Arastradero, a long cyclone fence,
Oh, I need to check that out.
which is new. Some people still park where the water district area is,
Yes,
but it's
yeah.
not posted. It seems like you should be able to park there.
Yes.
There's a fairly wide space in some of that,
No,
isn't there?
it's
So
right.
it's reasonable.
More of that.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't seen people on the roadway. I don't know where the extra cars are going, is the question I have.
They have opened up some overflow parking down on Fordfield. I don't know if that is still
Mhm.
something that's taking place. I do see a lot of cars parked there many
I thought
days.
that was employees. It seems
I
like. a
did
lo-
too, so I'm not-
Ford Field seems like a walkway for patrons to go
It does,
to park.
but there's a lot of cars there if it's employees, but maybe, I mean, I don't know how many people are employed in there,
I
in the
don't know.
business, so that's another question.
Should we
Okay.
take it off the agenda now? I
Yeah,
mean,
can we remove, yeah, exactly, maybe it's gone.
Let's just keep it on because Kevin said if he sees an increase in cars parked there, then he will put that temporary parking sign in. So let's see how it develops. I have not seen any cars parked there, so that's a good sign. I don't know if it's because people are on vacation. We will see.
Yeah, I think it's worth leaving it for another season. Things will likely pick up, you know, colleges come back and other things like get busy again. Item F.
My
Councillor
hand-
Hawthorne.
Sorry.
I beg your pardon, Rita. I have to look in 8 different directions. Please go ahead.
Yes. Well, you know what? They put up that fence on Arastradero and there are these beautiful do not park here signs. No parking signs all along that area. And there are times that there are 40, 50 cars parked along that area and people are moving across the street as you're coming towards Alpine Road with their strollers and little kids holding their hand or not holding their hand, people making U-turns there. It is a safety hazard and it's blocking one of the ways for us to get out in case of emergency. And yes, Alpine Inn is, trying to do their part with that little sign that says, don't park on Arastradero, you're going to get a ticket. And I assume that the people that are driving and parking all have, can read and because they have driver's licenses, I hope. But, the only option we have is to call California Highway Patrol to come and give them tickets. They are parking in front of do not park here signs. So please make sure that's noted in the minutes that there are do not park here signs. And it is a problem in the evenings. And yes, people are parking at Ford Field starting early in the morning. Those are employees. But as the day goes on, since Ford Field is right down the street from me, there are lots of people parked there and walking back and forth because they, don't have parking on the
Oh,
property.
that seems okay.
So, yeah, it's all fine unless there are a bunch of kids that want to use that field. And then there's a problem and the garbage has increased a lot from Ford Field to that spot. It could be just because families are using it more because the kids are out of school. But yeah, garbage has increased and I'm not sure why. I don't know, we don't have the police report to see if there are more accidents happening, because it is primarily a bar. Yes, it gives us taxes for our town, but it is a bar. So, you know, let's keep this on the agenda and watch what happens to it. I really appreciate, everyone appreciates in the town, especially since we do have an evacuation plan now, but we don't have a safety element, and something needs to be done. Thanks.
Thank you, Rita. I think the other point that I know everybody is aware of, but we should stress one more time, is that what happens on Arrastradero is across the county line from us. But if you do see something that's dangerous, like say California Highway Patrol or Palo Alto Police Department, or whoever their sheriff's department is, would be the right people to reach to express concerns. I will go down and check and see if the no parking signs, but you can put up a fence and put no parking signs on something, but I don't know if that is an enforceable sign or if that's just an ad hoc addition.
No, it's the county police and, you know, CHP put that there. They're real signs. Thanks.
Oh. Thank you. That's an important piece of information.
Yes.
All right, last thing on our regular agenda was any update on the hawthorns. I'm not aware of anything, but like I say, I've been out of town for 4 weeks, so.
Right, there hasn't been anything new going on with the hawthorns.
Except that they favor the entrance number 10, which is right at the intersection of Portola Road and Alpine Road.
Yeah, that was the case as of our last
Yeah.
meeting. I
9
believe.
or 10.
9 or
Wait.
10.
10 with 9 as a backup, that's what they're saying. They're both better than 1 through 8.
Okay.
And one thing that is nice about 10 would have the most impact on everyone, because mentally it's like, we all know that intersection so well, and that you change it so drastically, it's like, oh my goodness. But to look at it a little further, your previous concerns about the trail and the difficulties and problems with the safe routes for kids going on the mucky part when it's wet and all those things. If we continued the roadway to have at the entrance, that problem would be solved. So we could get to another problem taken care of. The other thing is, and we would have to talk to them, and maybe it's too soon, too early for people to actually wrap their heads around, but the roundabout comes up, and we want to be progressive. We want to change. It might not work with our corridors. It might be other objections, but is that something that we should be looking at?
I do think we should look at it in our long-term plan, and just, you know, having just done a 400-mile road trip through lots of little towns, in lots of little places, with lots of little roundabouts in far smaller spaces. And all this thing about the fire engine can't go over it. Most people have them paved with a different color and things like that. This is a solvable problem. So I do think in our strategic plan, we need to look at putting in a couple of roundabouts to slow traffic, or we need to have some way to slow traffic. And you don't slow traffic without physical impediments these days.
Exactly, and it's speed bumps just are so dangerous in so many
Yeah.
regards. A roundabout is so much easier, and it is not. We are not recreating the wheel. We are kind of like the slowest ones to get on the bike as far as roundabouts are concerned.
That's true.
You know, so maybe
So what if we submit a plan where we want the roundabout?
But that's what we're going to do. That's what our whole subcommittee on the local roadway safety
Yeah.
plan. We need to look very strategically, you know, for the next 50 years, because that's how long infrastructure lasts, right? What do we want people to be riding? Do we want everybody to be on bikes? You know, e-bikes? Everybody can go down to Menlo Park Station on e-bikes and jump on the train. I mean, what
Yeah,
kind of
Exactly.
infrastructure are we looking at?
exactly.
Or are we
And-
looking at a town with 1,000 new houses?
Oh, well,
Yeah, well, that's another question. Well, okay, thank you.
Hawthorne's, I have a question or a
Okay.
comment.
Christy, go ahead quickly. We're running.
Yeah, actually, there was a historical property meeting for the 13 acres of the historical house. And there is an update that is part of Portola Valley, correct? They did meet to take down certain failing buildings on the property and voted on that, and also voted on stabilizing other certain buildings on the property that needed stabilizing as a roof or a foundation. Maybe it's of the the person is living in the house there, and they need to make sure that's safe. So there is some things happening on the historical house, and I think we should, pay attention to that. I guess my big question is, where is the parking for the historical house if it does get refurbished and becomes like a Filoli's? I mean, picture it.
no,
So
no.
I don't really know. And my other comment is, I'm still like the parking lot where we parked for Hawthorne's up and over the hill. And it parks 20 or 40 cars in a place where we're not going to see it from Alpine Road. So when you say we all agree on number 10 parking lot, I have to say that I don't agree.
Well,
with-
it's the people from open space that have been on the committee that agree on that,
Right,
on 9
right.
and 10, and the impact of 1 through 8 as far as the environment and what was going on within the park. This has the least amount of impact. The 9 and 10 do, as opposed to 1 to 8. And there was so much concern as far as not having the entrance to the park be where the cyclists are starting to speed up on the descent. And that was a true safety issue.
Oh, I think 10 over 9, that is definite if you have to choose. But I still choose, I think it's number 4, up and over the hill.
So 4 is they've moved kind of onto 9 and 10 because of so many objections.
Right, because their mission statement is environmentally only, but what is Portola Valley's mission statement? Do we want to look at parking lots? And that's right in the scenic corridor, and they've already approved not 75 feet, but 65 feet. So who approved the 10 feet difference? That's kind of what I'm wondering, and we don't have a planning director for me to even ask.
Although
So,
you make a good point, Christy, but if I can just butt in at this point, there's been an ad hoc committee from the town to advise what is still only a working group committee, which will advise the final post committee or board that will look at a formal planning application. We're still a long way away from a formal planning application on this that would still have to be reviewed by the town.
right, and I think Clayton or Carter's point is, come early and talk to us, and don't do your drawings too early, because that's a lot of money on drawings. And so have they gone to the town and already had some type of preliminary approval for the 10 feet is my question, and it should be this committee's question
Well,
as well.
it's included this committee and Trails and Paths and Conservation. That is the nature of the ad hoc committee from Portola Valley.
Yeah, so when I asked him, he said, yeah, we're at 65 feet. I'm just wondering how he could be spending all the money on the drawings at 65 feet when it hasn't gone through our planning commission yet.
Because no planning application has been made yet. The planning commission would not look at that until there is a formal application. They don't look at things in
Right, so they
in
may
a
have
casual way like that.
they may have, said, oh, we can give you a concession or a variance. And do we want that as a town, or do we want it set back further?
That
So,
has still to be determined at the planning
Right,
stage. That's
right.
just the way the clockwork of the town operates.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Last of all, there's the Alternative Transport Infrastructure Subcommittee, and I have to make an apology here that Pat sent me some materials to be included in the packet. And I forgot to add that letter in, but I know if you'd like to describe it, I can circulate it to the committee and add in, because you did have a very good proposal to
Well,
add
it's,
extra road markings.
Right, part of the problem with Windy Hill is, the parking along the roadway forces the cyclists to go onto the actual street. And in many situations, the cyclists don't know it's okay for them to do that. Primarily to avoid, door bangs when cars aren't looking and the bikes get doored, which, the proposal is to add chevrons, which are an international symbol of the right of way, either for cyclists or for whomever, as far as traffic is concerned, onto the main roadway, just around the curve by Windy Hill, so that cyclists know that it's okay for them to take the lane if there's a lot of cars parked. It's a, very simple proposal. It looks like it would take maybe, 2 or 3 chevrons spaced apart. The chevrons, and we could figure out the symbol. The international symbol has a cyclist with the chevrons above it.
Mhm.
So I think that that makes the most sense as far as communication to everyone, that it's okay for the bikes to be there.
And that would be on the roadway in anticipation, in advance of the parking zone. that we
Exactly.
see
So
that-
it's
yeah.
only on one side of the road, because it's only on that big sweeper coming from Portola Valley to Woodside where we have this traffic hazard.
Gradually bearing right, and you don't have the view into the.
Now, granted, if they are doing the painting on the road, we may want to look at the opposite side of the road to see if it's necessary. If we can get this done, we might want to just make sure we take care of all of it at once if possible. But, yeah, that was my proposal. I think it would be a good thing without having Howard here. I don't know how we proceed with the proposal.
I think we should continue with it.
It's something that could be put in a grant, I think. Because there are quickened sort of grants for quick projects that can be done very quickly. So I think we could.
It's a
apply for it.
quickie,
Yeah,
it's a template.
Yeah.
I think one comment I would make is that because it is coincident with the parking, and we're looking to change that range as well
Right.
to define it very exactly.
Right,
But these two things ought to work together.
working together.
They should work, yeah.
Absolutely, and it's probably, one of the easiest solutions to gaining more safety for the cyclists than anything that we've come up with in a long time.
No, I
for
agree. It's a
that
very good idea. I mean, I know you've written a proposed document for that. I think we can provisionally approve that. I will circulate that to the committee.
Okay. that'd be
Let's take a
perfect.
show of hands on that, and if we're all in agreement, if you would like to respond individually to me on that, then I will forward that to town manager and our council liaison to request what we should do for the next steps.
Okay.
The interesting thing is, I don't know what the Caltrans standard are for showing where a door opens, but on our travel,
Mm.
I can't remember if we're in Glacier National Park, which could be Montana, but somewhere else. It was a place where there are a lot of cars that park on the shoulder, but it had lines coming out that showed where a car door would come to. So
Like a
that
safety
cyclists,
zone.
yes, so that cyclists could then move over. And then it was marked for cyclists further out. So, I
It's a
don't know,
wider road.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's a Caltrans standard for putting lines which should show where the car doors open.
Maybe.
Because
Maybe
then that sort of reminds motorists in a way, something, I don't know if there's anything to do with that. But it was just a thought.
It's, you know, I can look into it and see if I can find something as far as what that standard is. It seemed as though there are variations as far as using the chevrons. Ladera Shopping Center now is totally painted with green.
Mhm.
They have bicycle lanes indicated, which I don't know if that's official because,
That's county.
well,
And that is a standard. It is a standard to paint a bike lane green at places. We have avoided it in Portola Valley because we've avoided bike lanes, and whether we want to look so urban, I see it as a step on sort of complete streets and being urban. But I don't know if we in Portola Valley want to have that look, you know, I don't know if we want to look like a suburb. Because it
Yeah.
makes us look like a suburb.
Yeah.
Kevin Wells.
Kevin, I think,
okay.
yeah, you have a comment. Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed the meeting. Unfortunately, I have a little injury, but I'm okay. I would like to work with Pat on that. I've been working on that for 12 years now. And the main objective there is to get the vehicles off the side of the road. And I think we can do that very easily and give the door the swing it needs into that particular area. I don't want to force those bicyclists out into the pathway. That's the reason we have studied this particular problem over the last 12 years. What I would like to do is basically put maybe another sign up there where we force those vehicles off to the right or improve the right berm there and let them have the room to open that door. But as far as the chevrons are concerned, I'm fully against it. We studied that before. And if you start one chevron, you have to continue with a chevron with the state law to follow up for bicycle lanes. And like Angela said, the same thing. We decided that we weren't going to have bicycle lanes in Portola Valley. But I'd stay with Pat. I'm all for Pat and I'm all for the safety. And that's the reason we had made that particular corridor for the people to park on the right side of the road. So something we have to think about. Maybe we have to take a few videos and find out exactly what's happening over there again. But I watch it as much as I possibly can, practically every weekend, just when the bicyclists are coming through. So again, I'd be willing to work on that. Sorry, I'm not there.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'll circulate what Pat has written already to the committee. Apologies that I did not do that beforehand. Again, I think that came along while we were traveling and I had very limited email access to things. But noted, but I do think coordinating the two things to reduce the risk of injury to cyclists going through that area with car doors, whatever the solution is, I think we do have some good ideas.
I do think we need to think on our planning, whether we want great green paint in Portola Valley, because an alternative to that would be to say no parking around that corner and paint a green bike lane for bikes on the corner, right? So that the bikes stay in the green area and not have them sharing the road.
Well, then you have to adopt a bike lane,
There's a lot more impact.
and you have to have all the signage every 150 feet or whatever it is. And,
No,
and all the
it's
other
it's a
things.
huge, but I'm thinking, you know, long term, do we really want bikes sharing the road around that corner? Or do we want the bikes all in a lane, in a safe lane that's separate?
There's not enough room for a safe lane.
Well, there is if you
separate.
don't park. If you say there's no parking there, you can keep all the cars.
If you could keep the cars off the shoulder with
We've been trying for 12 years.
Yes.
to
And
keep cars
allowing-
off the
Yeah.
shoulder.
this was
It's kind of like, another sign.
No.
We've done
Yeah.
mobile signs,
yeah,
we've done
yeah,
this sign,
yeah,
we've done that
yeah.
sign. We have parking signs that are put out by the county that say no parking. And people still they don't care, because we have no way to enforce it.
Yeah.
So what's
yeah,
the point?
Yeah, yeah.
So why don't we do something that's a little bit more
If they're sharing, they're sharing.
sharing, we're sharing.
Yep,
So-
I tend to agree. And the new approach is,
I mean, it's just, let's try a different color sign. Something, we'll figure something out for
okay,
sure.
thank you. But I
But we
will,
know it's a problem. I
It's-
guess
it's
we're still
definite- It's
there.
definitely a problem.
We still have
But
an
I-
identifiable problem.
I do owe it to Pat to circulate your contribution, and I want please respond individually with your thoughts on that. So thank you again, and thank you, Pat.
Thank you,
for-
Kevin. Yeah, let's work on that together.
Okay, that brings us up to our last item on the regular agenda, which is item 7, events. The big thing coming up is Zots to Tots and the town picnic on 21st of September. Kevin and I have already begun coordination with the Sheriff's Department and with the CERT team to help with the race coordination again. CERT have already actually also approached me. Do we want them to be involved with race marshalling and controlling?
Which group?
CERT, the Community Emergency Response Team. They helped us last year with a great number of people. They did a good job. They did a nice job. So I'd like to use what we did last year as a model for putting together this year's race. And then any thoughts about particular hotspots where you think more attention is needed, please let me know well in advance where you think we needed to do something different or better so that we can coordinate the resources we have around that,
You already have my hot spot, right?
which was,
Westridge and Portola. The
Yep.
finish area. It's a nightmare.
Yep,
We just
was
need to
difficult.
have somebody there with authority, that's familiar with the complications of so many different types of cyclists going through that,
yep,
because it's not just racers at that point.
no, it's everybody. And and it's people attending the picnic and it's people attending everything else. So I'll bring that up directly with the sheriff. We've already got their implicit agreement to participate with that. So that should be smooth.
What are we doing for pre-preparation to make sure that more people know?
So that was the other thing I was going to come on to. We're going to need 2 things. One is a call for more town volunteers to make sure that we have the support that we need, including working with the sheriff and the CERT team, but also work with town to publicize as much as we can. The roads are going to be closed, and Kevin and I have already discussed this. The notices need to start going out at least a month ahead of the event. So we're coming up now to August 21st. Being 1 month ahead, and Kevin and I are figuring out now how to reprogram and redeploy the speed trailer so that will move around in town and more people will have a chance to see a note that says these roads will be closed on this date.
What about, we have 3 places where we can hang banners. What if we did some banners that said, Zatzpatats road closed, these are the times.
I think that's a good idea too. I mean, all the ways that we can do this. I mean, I publicize on the forum, but that still only reaches, everything you do only reaches a subset of the people.
Exactly,
Um,
but yeah, maybe we should,
The town has to circulate it.
yeah, we do the banners.
So I've already begun that discussion with Kerry Chin, who's our communications
Okay.
person, but adding banners to that is a very good idea.
Is the
Wow.
town sending out postcards like they sometimes do for events?
I'll have to ask. I think it's already on many events postcard that's stuck to our fridge. But that won't tell people the roads are going to be closed.
We
so.
have a budget, don't we, of some sort somewhere? I thought we had some kind of.
We
allocated
should,
budget.
but I don't know if any of the town has a budget. So
No, but if we could take the banners out of our budget,
I think so.
because it's a safety issue. We don't use our budget for anything.
We don't have a budget.
We don't have,
Yes, we do.
yeah, we do. We
Yes,
have,
we do. If it's not for infrastructure, it's for things like doing a booth
Yeah.
at the town.
Yeah, we
So
have
how much do we have?
oh,
$600.
yeah, something like that. So
I
we could,
think so.
and I'll do the artwork. I'm happy to do the artwork.
Thank you.
So let's see if we can get that in place.
Not much time, so we need to get on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And we need to
Alright.
contact the town to get on the time slot, make sure we can get the space.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
So you want me to do that?
Would you do that, please?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate it.
We've just
Um,
got a hand up.
Oh, Rita, go ahead. I'm sorry. I have to look in two
quick
different
comment.
directions at once.
Should probably check your budget since are we in the new
I
fiscal
mean,
year?
no, I could.
You should
bring it.
probably check and see if you still have that $600 since it seems to be a clawback from all the committee budgets. So I
Oh, Let
would
me
check.
ask you about that. Thank you.
Okay, we'll find out.
I mean, the other thing we can do is just request a budget, or maybe work with Parks and Recs to see if they'll help us with that, because they have a budget. Maybe we can combine something.
Yeah, it's not gonna be
So I
expensive.
can talk to Patty Hughes about that as well.
Okay, you gonna do that?
I can do that part, yeah.
Okay, you do that part.
Well, if they're getting banners and maybe put on their banners that the road will be closed because they may already have the idea to put banners there.
Exactly. If they're doing it, then that's what we want.
Yeah, they may have it
add.
already. Okay,
That's better idea.
thanks. Okay, let me see if I can get that organized. All right, if there are no further matters arising,
I do have a question,
one more question.
because I liked Angela's idea, or perhaps it was your idea. Got it. What are we going to present? Are we going to not have like a survey at a booth on the 21st of September?
Oh, thank you. I was going to bring this up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having a booth.
we
So
need to
are
request a
we
table.
listing all these projects and have people vote on it, or what do we?
The last time we spoke, Angela and I talked about it a little bit for the booth. We were thinking of focusing on recruitment of more committee members. And should we work on the future infrastructure?
Oh,
Get
help.
input there, or is that too big of
The
a?
future infrastructure I'd like to do at the town centre. I do think it would be interesting to ask for some ideas, but I'd like to do it like the consultants did for Alpine Road and 280 when they had the trail, where you have a classroom and you have the pictures all around and people put dots on what they like, you know, I'd
We
like
won't
to
be
do-
ready for that.
No, we won't be ready for that.
So we'll have to
Really?
figure out one.
21st of September.
But I've got
A lot to do.
so
You gotta
much going
Have to
on
get
that
maps
I
and
never-
things
never-
ready and all printed out. It's a lot. It's a lot. You know, the
So
research.
we
of it.
need to just figure out one more thing to put in the booth, and we can do that.
So the first thing to do is make sure we request a table.
Yeah, okay, we need a table. Okay,
I think that goes through Carrie or Patty. There's an email chain going in the background between committee chairs, so let me take that one.
okay.
Okay, if there's no more further matters, I'd like to declare the meeting adjourned. Don't see any further hands up. And our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on the 4th of September. So that will give us time to add some more details into Zots to Tots as
I
necessary.
have one piece of information. Howard did used to contact Captain Taylor for sheriff reports, so that's where it fell apart. So I sent Captain Fox the calendar so they can check it on their own, since we're having staffing issues with the public works right now.
Yep, we already discussed this, Christy, and I think either Kevin or myself will take that.
Yeah, so Captain
roll
Taylor
on.
now knows how to look up the calendar himself.
But I think it's always helpful to give people a prompt, so
Yeah,
that they're
yeah.
going to be ready.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, everybody. As I say, declare the meeting adjourned. I will see you again on September 4th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.